Radio. Reliable, unpredictable, informative, local. Experimentation is the mother of invention. Expect the unexpected. Streffy on the radio.
Dinosaur DJ is back.
Dinosaur DJ in time.
Ancient one.
This should be banned. What's this doing on the start of the programme?
He's prehistoric.
Not that old. I'm only about 90.
Years ago.
Asked his sell-by date. Asked his sell-by date.
He's back. The Dinosaur DJ is back. With top 20 tunes.
My mom's favorite DJ.
The Ancient One.
I tell you.
Asked his sell-by date.
Now, Sammy, first of all, thank you so much for being my nurse and carer. It's written into my contract. This is my 2-year show. I've actually been on this radio station now for exactly 2 years today. So there we go. So I'm welling up with emotion. No, seriously. It is an anniversary, and it's brilliant to have done 2 years on this station. Met so many amazing people through radio. We wouldn't have met but for radio, obviously, and met hundreds of people through radio. But so first of all, it is written into my contract that I've got to have a nurse and carer, so it's fallen to you today. But what's been going on behind my back? How many chairs have you tried? How many cushions? I mean, you know, are you okay now?
Well, I've been here for 20 minutes. I'm on my third chair.
Yes, I tell you. Are you okay then?
I'm all right now,
so,
thanks.
Good. And you live close by, and also big thanks to your mum, who's looking after your 2 sons. Is that right? Julian and Sean.
That's right.
And you're going to stay hopefully till about 6 o'clock. This programme is an extended Monday drive programme, which hopefully will go all the way to 8 p.m. God willing, or something like that. Now, Samantha. Do you ever get called Samantha?
I get all of the above and others.
Right.
And Brad has called me Sam.
Sam. What do you call a bear with no ear?
I don't know.
B. Oh, that's bad, isn't it? That is bad. Anyway, here we go. See, B. You take the E-A-R. I'm having to explain jokes to her now, I tell you. But pirate radio, there was a pirate radio station off Scarborough called Radio 270, and perhaps the most famous DJ on that back in the 60s was a guy called Paul Burnett, who went on to work on the BBC. Can you imagine if we were on a boat now, Sammy, and we were kind of, feeling seasick and retching onto the desk here in front. I mean, they took a lot of, they became very glamorous, the radio presenters, obviously, on pirate radio, and there was a lot of maybe girls waiting for them when they got back to harbour. They'd maybe do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. But the first pirate radio station actually started on the 28th of March, so that's today, 1964. So that is 52 years ago today. Pirate radio station, Radio Caroline, was set up by an Irishman called Ronan O'Reilly, and it was the first broadcast to Britain from the North Sea. I mean, these ships obviously tended to move about a bit, but Caroline was there was Radio Caroline, there was Radio London, there were quite a few others, and it was exciting. But of course, Wedgwood Ben in 1967. See, Sammy, I remember this really well. It was August 1967, and I was crying, I think, really, because I had a reel-to-reel Grundig tape recorder, and I recorded the last hour of Radio 270, and to stay within the law, they had to go off the air just before midnight, or at midnight, on, I should remember the date, it was certainly August 1967, I think, when pirate radio was made illegal. But Radio Caroline, which started broadcasting exactly 52 years ago today, they actually carried on. And I remember switching over from 270 to Radio Caroline, and there was none other than Johnny Walker, amongst others, all very rebellious and carrying on broadcasting. Now,
Caroline, the sound of the nation. Caroline, the sound of the land. Caroline, the sound of the nation. Caroline.
The price of eggs is going up, you know. Oh, sorry, no, that's the opposite, actually. The price of eggs is going down. Sammy, do you I bet you like eggs, don't you? So what did you, on Saturday, you went out with a lady friend, didn't you? And you got trapped, and tell me about that rain.
That
on
crazy
Saturday
storm.
afternoon.
Yeah, Saturday afternoon.
Was that in Runcorn?
No, I went out to speak to the retail park shopping with my friend Marie. We couldn't even get out of the car, so we just had to sit there.
It was horrific. Absolutely chucked it down in Southport. Eggs have dropped to as little as 50p for 6. That'll be half a dozen. And there's a kind of supermarket price war going on. The reason for this may be because sales are booming after experts gave them the all clear over cholesterol and salmonella concerns. Asda have cut its smart price mixed weight caged eggs. Do you bother about free range or caged eggs? I don't, to be honest. Being a Yorkshireman, I mean, an egg's an egg. I mean, yes, all right. I know caged hens is not a very good situation, but
the freer the hen, the nicer the eggs. So.
Are they really? Oh well, maybe I'm wrong then.
Yeah, I do.
Maybe I'm not eating nice eggs. Anyway, so Asda have cut the price to 50p for a box of 6. Morrison's apparently M-Saver 52p for a box of 6. And this is coming from price specialist Brand View. We're not just making these prices up. Lidl's cheapest half dozen eggs are down to 55p. Aldi's 65p. Tesco and Sainsbury's 70p. So it does look as if there's a bit of an egg war going on, price war, like you sometimes get a petrol price war, don't you, between supermarkets. Anyway, going back to Radio Caroline, we've got another Radio Caroline jingle.
Caroline's Sure Shot.
The boat race. These women, you see, they nearly sank. Do you know why they didn't sink? The Cambridge women's crew, I mean, look at the weather here. There's thunder and lightning in London yesterday. That's that Storm Katie, I would guess. And lightning strikes near the boat race finish line in Chiswick. And it must have been quite horrific. I mean, I don't think there's any metal in the oars, because it's obviously very dangerous to be out and about in thunder and lightning, Sammy. But the Cambridge women's crew was swamped, as you can see here. I don't know. Do you fancy doing a bit of rowing? Have you done any rowing in your time?
I go to the gym, but I avoid the
Do you go to the gym?
machine.
Which gym do you go to?
I go to Brookvale in Runcorn.
Brookvale in Runcorn?
Yeah,
Have you got a year's membership?
Yeah, it's great.
Is it?
£15 a month.
And do you go on the rowing machine there?
No.
All right.
It looks most uncomfortable. It's all about comfort.
So you're not into sitting on anything? I've worked this out, you see. We don't really know each other, do we?
We don't.
But I'm working it out that you've got very high standards when it comes to chairs and cushions. And the chaise lounge is okay, is it? You seem quite elegant there. Settling into the old chaise lounge. And so what do you do? Do you do running at the gym?
A little bit of jogging. A bit of weights.
Oh, a little bit of jogging, yeah.
Yeah, cycling.
Yeah. I joined a gym, you know. They've got a fantastic new machine there. It's absolutely brilliant. It sells Coke and Mars bars, and it's fantastic. But you know why they didn't sink yesterday? It's because the boat was equipped with electric water pumps. That's why the Cambridge women did not sink yesterday. We're going to talk.
That make the boat heavier, though?
Well, possibly.
I didn't even know that women were in the boat race. That's
You know
terrible.
nothing. You know nothing.
Obviously.
I don't think you're in the real world, you, Sammy. I don't know what's going on.
World.
You go to these parties and you go, shh. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
So there we are. So do you eat at the gym and drink at the gym and socialise at the gym?
No, none of the above. It's
You don't
not
talk to anyone. You just go there.
The trainers are nice.
Oh, you have a trainer? You have your own personal trainer?
I did at one point.
Did you?
Steve Hickton.
Steve, all right. So there we go. So let's talk about this boxing thing, which is a serious issue. Have you any thoughts about boxing? I'll come to you in a minute. Nick Blackwell, obviously taking on Chris Eubank Jr. at the weekend. He's fighting for his life, sadly. He's been put into an induced coma after suffering bleeding to the brain following his defeat, as I say, at Wembley Arena by Chris Eubank Jr. The bout was stopped in the 10th round after the ringside doctor advised the referee, who was coming in for some criticism in the sense that he should have maybe stopped the bout a round or two earlier. I didn't see it, so I can't really comment. He couldn't see through his left eye. I heard on the radio this morning somebody even saying that boxing is, should be banned, which is perhaps going a bit too far. The noble art of boxing can do so much good for so many people, and I think, obviously there are dangers, but there are dangers in other sports. I mean, in Australia a year or two ago, sadly, there was a death with somebody who was wearing a helmet, cricket in Australia, and got the ball just underneath the helmet, and he died. I forget his name, but I mean, tragic. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever died playing football, but sports can be dangerous, and people
died of motor racing recently, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah.
I mean, people know the risks. I suppose a lot less people die in Formula One than they used to do. Was it Nelson Piquet died? Was it in 1994? Anyway, Eubanks Senior was telling his son to go for the body rather than the head. Now, there's some controversy about this. It doesn't. Maybe he was just telling him to go for the body rather than the head to win the bout, rather than any real concern for the opponent. I might have got that one wrong, and possibly have. So there we are. So he collapsed when the scores were read out. Did Nick Blackwell? He was the champion. He collapsed after the scores were read out and was immediately treated by paramedics. He was carried out on a stretcher and taken to St Mary's Hospital in London, where he is set to remain presumably for some time. So there we are. And of course, this incident comes about 25 years after Michael Watson collapsed in the ring after his fight, obviously, with Chris Eubanks Senior at White Hart Lane. And Michael Watson, I think, spent about 40 days in a coma. I think he had about 6 brain operations to remove a blood clot. So I don't know. So should the referee have stopped the fight earlier? But it's dangerous, isn't it? But so there we go.
Hi, this is Dennis LeCourrier. Just reminding you, in case you didn't know, that you're listening to Halton Community Radio on 92.3 because you know what's good for you.
Not from Liverpool, not from Manchester, and not from London. This is your station for your community. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
So if we get on battle listeners, we got 3 questions on the go at the moment. We are beginning to get some answers in. Which singer recorded a tune called Raw in 2013? And who calls her fans little monsters? The answer is somebody who is 30 today. And where do Scary Spice and Princess Anne's daughter... so who's that? Zara Phillips. So I think it's where do Scary Spice and Zara Phillips have a stud on their body? Is it the nose, the tongue, or the ear? I don't think we've asked my co-presenters today, Sammy, those questions as yet. So there we go. We're going to go do a feature now on Dick Van Dyke, I think. So do you know how old he is, Sammy? Dick Van Dyke, he's just come out with a new book called Keep Moving. There's a good adage for life, isn't it, Sammy? Keep moving. Keep moving. Yeah. And other tips and truths about ageing. It's probably not a good job to be a radio presenter or a taxi driver because you don't really do too much. Although I do jig around on this chair a little bit, as you may have spotted. And anyway, but you're looking quite languid on that chaise lounge. So there we go. Were you about to speak there, Sammy? Sorry, did I interrupt?
No, I was just going to hazard a guess about Dick Van Dyke's age.
Oh, go on then.
He must be well into his 80s.
He's actually 90, and he's just written this book about how life gets better with age. Do you think life gets better with age, Sammy? I don't know.
It has for me.
Good.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And have you got anybody listening, by the way? Is your mum listening, or your 2 boys, or
any
of your friends? Your mum might be listening.
Mum might be listening.
Oh, hello, Mum. I don't know. What's she called?
Cynthia.
That's a good name.
In Thelwell.
Cynthia in Thelwell. She lives near the Thelwell Viaduct.
Yeah, she does, yeah.
Right. Yeah. That can get a bit blowy, can't it, on the weather? I don't think about the way I am supposed to act at my age, or any age. So he says in his new advice book, which is called Keep Moving, about the joys of aging. I mean, I think this part of my life is pretty good because I'm not really working anymore. I do work a bit for Leeds University and obviously radio, but radio's not really work, is it? Is it? I don't know, it's kind of work, maybe. It's a hobby.
It's a great hobby.
It's a great hobby.
Yeah.
This is it. It's a hobby, which I've been doing for years and years now, since about 2008. I did do radio at university. I did a 13-hour show once. I used to do a show called Crazy Chris. I don't know where they got that name from. Crazy Chris, unbelievable, when I was at university. So I've always had a love of doing something like this. When I was 13, I don't know if you said you read my blog, didn't you, the other day?
Yes.
I used to make shows up at home, get the music off the radio sometimes, because I got a turntable. What do you call it? I forget what they were called now. These Dansette it was called.
Yeah.
I think it was blue, and it had a handle on. Blue. And I remember I got it for my 14th or 15th birthday, and I remember carrying it through the street, holding it by the handle. And then, of course, you could put all your 45s and... Of course, I'm way older than you, Sammy. I can remember 78s. My parents had 78s, and they used to snap so easily. But anyway... Brittle. That's it. We keep down. If I'm out shopping, this is Dick Van Dyke, by the way. If I'm out shopping, we need to get a move on here, and hear music playing in a store, I start to dance. Do you dance? I dance in the kitchen when I'm on my own. I love dancing. Do you?
I love dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Any excuse. I was dancing last night, actually.
I think we should have a dance, Sammy.
Oh, go on,
as a suitable.
Find some music.
Okay. Can we get you off that chaise lounge? And I don't know where we're going to dance. It's not much room in here, is there? We might have to go out into the big area out there. So there we are. So these are his advice for old age. Be inquisitive. Old age is not the time to be scared. It's the time to be curious. So what do you think, Sammy?
That sounds like good advice, doesn't it? I mean, it's about keeping yourself alert, isn't it? I think keeping your mind alert. I mean, he did get married when he was 86.
Did he?
Yeah,
well.
So that might have something to do with his spring in his step.
Exactly. He says love is one of these. I'm so lucky he's met this Arlene, right? And she's heaven, takes care of everything, takes care of me. She dances. She's an entrepreneur. I think being alone, which I hate, I would have started to deteriorate. So I think this is an important point you make here. You're never too old for romance. A candlelight dinner, a slow dance, a stroll under the stars. These are as potent and magical at 85 as they are at 25. So there we are.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah. His first job was actually in local radio.
Right. Dick Van Dyke.
And he got married on radio. You can tell I've been Googling, can't you?
Yes, we can.
He got married as part of a radio station show. Partly because it was free and he was hard up at the time. To his first wife, this was.
He got married what? On the radio? Live on the radio?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Well, it was obviously somebody he'd met before.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it wasn't a surprise.
It wasn't like a competition. Who wants to marry Dick Van Dyke? No. And some woman turned up and they got married.
It was in the 1950s.
But often, people who get married who've never met before, that sometimes works, doesn't it? Like in certain religions, and to get these arranged marriages. No, you don't sound convinced about arranged marriages.
There was a show on TV maybe a year ago, I don't know if you saw it, and they got together 3 couples to get married who hadn't met each other before.
Oh, I saw that.
Remember that?
I do. It was about a year ago, yeah. I do watch television.
One couple pulled out beforehand.
Yeah.
One split up after a week because she found out he was on Tinder, and then the other couple, they were still together 3 months later. I'd like to see the follow-up.
Are they still together? That's the big question.
Don't know.
So there we are. So go places, travel, he says, be inquisitive, all this kind of stuff here. Talk about everything, presumably with your partner mainly. Never stop learning till the day you die, do you, Sammy?
No.
We've got another minute to talk before we've got to go to Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, which has got Julie Andrews in, but also hopefully got Dick Van Dyke in. Hello, may we pop in? Are we... Right, 2 minutes to have a dance. Right, okay. Exercise. You see, he exercises. Does a lot of leg work. He says here, treadmills, weights. I can dance better than any 90-year-old on the planet. He says here. Stretchy mind. Have we covered most bases here? I think we have. Sex. We'll gloss over that. But stay young at heart. And don't fear death. Well, it's easier said than done, don't fear death, because I think about death quite a bit at my age. And I don't know. But you can't do anything about it, can you? So you just got to go on with it. Well, that'd be good, wouldn't it, to have a proposal live on air?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't sound too confident there. I'm not going to do it, folks. Shall I do it? Sammy Giles. No. A British couple. A British couple. What?
I've already made one to Daniel Craig on the 29th of February.
Okay, right. Oh, yeah. Somebody did that to me on the 29th of February, but still. A British couple have become the first to marry inside an Icelandic glacier. What do you reckon? She looks like the Snow Queen. Is she all fur coat and no knickers there? She's got a massive fur coat on and scarf, But she doesn't look warm, does she? Anyway, this is Anthony Lee, 41, and Mary Jones Lee, 36, from Derby. Apparently, Sammy, they invited a party of 19. Don't nod off. They invited a party of 19, right? I think there were like 10 polar bears and 2 seals or something, but it's quite sculptured, isn't it? You can sculpture ice like that. The chapel has been kind of gouged out of a glacier in Iceland. So I don't know whether you think that's romantic or not. Maybe not.
It might be romantic to visit, but do you need to get married there? I don't know.
No. So right, where would you like to get married? Anyway, I'll ask you that later. What about Easter? Anyway, if you were eating a chocolate bunny, what part of the bunny would you eat first, do you reckon? It says here, 76% of us would eat the... What do you reckon? Correct! The ears. Yeah. So when we're about to eat a chocolate bunny, this is topical because it's Easter, you see. When we're about to eat a chocolate bunny, so look, 76% of us, according to this nonsense, will eat the ears first. 5% will go for the feet, and 4% will tuck into the tail. Anyway, moving on. In medieval times, a festival of egg throwing was held in church. Now, here we go. The priest would throw a hard-boiled egg to one of the choir boys, and then it was thrown from one choir boy to the next. And whoever held the egg when the clock struck 12, was the winner. But probably by then, the hard-boiled egg was perhaps all mangled and not worth... The UK's first ever chocolate egg, what do you reckon? What date? Any ideas? It was in the 19th century. It was not Cadbury's. It was Fry's from Bristol. The very first UK chocolate egg was What are you going for?
1880.
No, you're close. 1873. That's a good guess. The tallest chocolate Easter egg was made in Italy in 2011. It was 34 foot high. I don't know why they did this, other than to get into some kind of record books like Guinness or something. Tallest chocolate Easter egg was made in Italy in 2011, 34 feet in height and more than 7 tons in weight. I can't imagine that, can you? 7 tons in weight, an Easter egg. Taller than a giraffe, heavier than an elephant, of course. But the award for the largest decorated Easter egg, however, goes to Portugal, which created an egg. The word Y springs to mind, which was almost 49 feet in height and 26 feet in diameter when it was made in 2008. Oh, and I don't know really whether to do this because it's a bit risque. Shall I do it, Sammy? Have I got your permission to do it? It involves whipping of women. I don't really should do this, Sammy, because we're nowhere near the watershed. In the Czech Republic and Slovakia, women are traditionally whipped or soaked with water on Easter Monday, or Dingus Day, as it's known locally. The whipping is carried out with a special handmade whip decorated with ribbons and is believed to make women more healthy and beautiful. Shall we move on? Bizarre. Thank you for that word. That's a good word. I like that word, bizarre. That is a good word. So whipping women in the Czech Republic and Slovakia to make them more healthy and beautiful. The mind boggles. The world's most popular kind of Easter egg is obviously what, Sammy? What do you reckon?
Most popular
Well, yeah, it's Cadbury's.
Cadbury's cream egg.
Yeah, you're right. Well done. The Cadbury's cream egg. The Cadbury factory. Have you been? I've been.
No.
In Birmingham, because I've got a sister in Birmingham. The Cadbury factory in Birmingham produces 1.5 million Cadbury's cream eggs every day. How extraordinary!
Every day.
That sounds a bit. Anyway, and 19% of children say they've made themselves ill by eating too much chocolate over the Easter holidays. Do you think 19%? Hey, what about this? What about this, Sammy? This is amazing. In 2012, micro sculptor Willard Wigan, that's a strange name, perhaps not comment about that, is Willard. Okay, second letter's I. Willard Wigan spent 2 weeks creating the world's smallest chocolate egg, and it could fit on the head of a pin. Can you imagine a chocolate egg? Smallest ever, made by Willard Wigan in 2012, and it could fit on the head of a pin. And if you laid all the Cadbury cream eggs made in a year, and from end to end, it would stretch from Bourneville, which is obviously the Cadbury factory, Birmingham-ish, all the way to Sydney, Australia. Have you been to Australia? Where's the best place you've been to on holiday?
I liked Greece, and I liked Florida and Florida Keys. I've been there a couple of times.
Florida Keys, right. Greece. Whereabouts in Greece?
Oh, I can't remember what it's called.
What's that place? Captain Corelli's Mandolin. That's supposed to be good.
I've been there.
You've been there?
Kefalonia.
I've not been there. I've been to Crete and most of the others. Cars. I've been to Cars. Now then, young lady, do you snore? Fancy asking a lady? And how old are you? I'm going to ask you all the questions.
How old am I?
I'm only messing. Don't tell me your age. You never ask a woman her age, Sammy. And you never ask.
For me, actually.
What?
In January. My son's asked for it. On the 25th of January. That was my birthday.
25th of January. So what sign are you?
Aquarius.
Aquarius. Oh, well, yeah. What I mean, it's all a load of rubbish. I don't believe in horoscopes. Oh, come off it. The fact that your personality is decided by in which horoscope part you're born, that's total nonsense.
No.
There's no validity whatsoever. You cannot be serious.
Because something isn't provable doesn't mean that it isn't true. We're learning all the time about the effects of the moon and tidal effects on animals and creatures' behaviour. It's the same for humans.
Do you believe in God? Do you believe in ghosts?
No.
Ghosts? You don't believe in ghosts?
No.
But you believe in horoscopes. That's total nonsense. I had you down, young Sammy Giles, as an intelligent young lady, and now I don't know, that can't be right. No. I mean, I'm a Virgo, you see, September the 16th. That's when the new Bridget Jones film's coming out this year, by the way. So I'm supposed to be a perfectionist. Does this studio look like a perfectionist? I mean, no, it's nonsense. So what are supposed to be your character traits because you're Aquarius? Oh, I wonder if we can find Aquarius. Go on, keep talking.
Aquarius.
I bet it's not on the system. Yeah.
It's the sign of genius, actually. Aquarius. And imagination and general
I'm not so sure about that, but what a surprise. Aquarius is not on the system. But never mind. You see, we tried. Anyway, never mind about all that rubbish about horoscopes. It can't be right. It's just harmless fun. Do you read your horoscope every day?
No.
Right. Why not? If you believe it, you should do.
I believe in the personality traits and the general. I read a monthly one. And it's an American lady called Sally, and she puts a monthly one online, and I do read that.
Okay.
And it is good.
25th of January, right. According to the British Snoring and Sleep Apnea Association, snoring is air turbulence vibrating the structures of the upper airway and can range in sound from 50 to 100 decibels. Now, to get serious for a minute, Sammy, I've been in lots of relationships where obviously, my partner has snored, and that is a real issue. And I think I know it doesn't sound very romantic, but the practical solution to snoring is to go and sleep in the spare room. Or I've had partners who've tried to cure themselves of it. I don't think I snore, although very slightly I've been told recently, but when I was young, and I don't think anybody said I snored, which is rather surprising considered the size of this thing here. But stop laughing, Sammy. You're a guest. You're supposed to be nice to me. I'm only messing. But do you want to talk about that? Do you snore?
I do. I know I do, because lately I've been waking myself up snoring when I've been in the cinema.
Oh, that's interesting.
Isn't that awful?
In the cinema?
Yeah.
Fall asleep in the cinema?
Yeah.
And snoring?
Well,
you get prodded, wouldn't you? A lot of people are going, shh. I mean, you can't snore in a cinema. Which cinema's this, Runcorn?
Yeah. The last time it was when I was watching Snoopy. That was a very dull film.
Well, I've seen all the classics with having grandchildren, 9 and 10 now. But obviously, I've sat through interminable, awful kiddies. I can't really think things like box trolls and stuff like that. But yeah, it's difficult
like
to keep.
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Alvin and the Chipmunks. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen them all. Yeah. The grandkids, you see, they want to go and see. If there's this Batman versus. Where is it? Batman versus Superman or something. That film's out. It's not got particularly good reviews, but if it's a 12A, that means if anybody under 12 can go, is it? With an adult, or do you have to be 12? I'm not sure. We should prepare this show, shouldn't we? We should prepare. Where's the script gone? Sammy, where's the script?
Google the age thing, because I did take my children to see something that was 12, and it was terrible.
Bad. Anyway, apparently 100 decibels is equivalent to a pneumatic drill. She's breaking the microphone now. Honestly. In 2009, a 60-year-old grandmother called Jenny Chapman was said to be Britain's loudest snorer at 111.6 decibels. That's 8 decibels louder than the roar of a low-flying jet. The 3 main causes are being overweight, drinking and smoking, and also it says here snoring can be hereditary. Snorers are 3 times more likely to suffer bad health than non-snorers. 4 out of 10 men snore and 3 out of 10 women snore. And sleep apnea was first diagnosed in 360 BC. I don't know why they didn't have snoring before. I'm sure they had snoring before 360 BC. So what about the holy grail of medical research is, well, it really should be finding a cure for my thing, diabetes, because that costs the NHS so much money. But perhaps the holy grail might be finding a cure for snoring. I mean, obviously practical things are things like losing weight, giving up smoking, cutting down on alcohol. Those are kind of like lifestyle changes, Sammy. Sleeping on your side. No, sorry. I'm just wanting to involve you in the conversation there. Yeah. Sleeping on your side rather than on your back can also help, as can higher pillows. Perhaps you need higher pillows, Sammy.
I've got 2 pillows.
I've got 6. You only got 2 pillows?
Yeah.
I've got 6. I don't need them, but I've got 6. Well, yeah. So anyway, moving on. Other remedies include a chin strap. Now this sounds a bit extreme. Other remedies include a chin strap to keep the mouth closed, teeth guards, and that bring the lower jaw and tongue forward, thus creating more space in the mouth. Interrupt whenever you want. Herbal sprays, a nasal strip, and a nasal dilator. Yes, I had a lady who tried that, I think. And you literally shove it up the nose, as it were. So there we are. Now,
I was married to a bad snorer, and I used to wear earplugs, and it's fine.
Oh, the earplugs worked?
Yep.
Famous snorers include Napoleon Bonaparte, Johann Brahms, as in Brahms and Liszt, the composer. Now, see, Winston Churchill, he was a heavy smoker, a heavy drinker, and also, not exactly slim, was he? So he was a snorer. Henry VIII was a snorer, although probably nobody dare tell him he was, if they wanted to keep their head. Franklin Roosevelt and Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria, you know how tall she was? 4'11".
That's quite.
She was tiny, wasn't she? I think that's Dolly Parton. Oh, did you watch that programme on the Queen last night? Queen at 90, she's lost it. My mother, who I'm planning to maybe go and see next week because we're not on HCR, is she's lost about 6 inches, I think, as you do. See, I'm 6'3". I might suddenly end up 5'9". You never know. Snoring is no respecter of glamour, by the way, because Elizabeth Taylor was a famous snorer, and Rihanna apparently once snored so loudly during an American Airlines flight that she issued a public apology. And this is somebody similar to you. Disney star Ashley Tisdale, never heard, who is he? Ashley Tisdale used to snore so loudly that she woke herself up, and this was a condition that was cured by surgery for a deviated septum.
Oh, I've heard of people having operations. I don't know this works.
I've got a deviated septum. I should have had it operated on when I was 14 when I fell off my bike and nearly killed myself straight into a taxi. I was knocked out for a couple of hours. And so I've got a deviated one of them. But my mother never actually pushed for an operation. Anyway, apparently there's a fad at the moment among Hollywood people for a snoratorium. This is a soundproof room that the snorer can sleep in. And when he was married to Katie Holmes, Tom Cruise installed one, as did Judge Judy. And so there's more stuff here about snoring. But, snoring in space, you're less likely, as we know from the quiz early on. People don't, or at least don't as much as on Earth. The lack of gravity makes astronauts snore less. Earthly snoring occurs when gravity pulls the tongue and soft tissues in the rear of your mouth backwards. We don't want to know that, do we? So they were interesting topics, snoring. So what did you do? You had earplugs. Earplugs, eh? So they did the trick, right? So you didn't banish him to the spare room or anything like that? Okay, we've just been talking about snoring. And there we go. What time is it now? It's almost 6:15. Sammy, you've got to go at 6, haven't you? Yeah. You have.
In a world, one man, one desire. Coming to a radio near you. The Chris Strefford Show. It's what your ears were made for.
So here we go with the next three questions. Sammy, let's put your slider up. Why does a glowworm glow? You don't have to give me the answer now, Sammy. We'll talk to you off air, shall we? Why does a glowworm glow? There's your first question.
Okay.
And we were talking about bingo before. We were doing about two fat ladies for 88. So the number 22 in bingo is represented by a pair of little what? So don't say, Sam. Number 22 in bingo is represented by a pair of little what? Why does a glowworm glow? It's quite a straightforward answer, really, but an intriguing one. Do you like the Grand National horse racing? Do you always have a bet on the Grand National?
I don't.
You don't? We've got, I usually do with the grandchildren. The Grand National coming up, the Crabbies Grand National is coming up a week on Saturday, April the 9th. Your quiz question on this round is, which road is crossed by the horses? Okay, there's 7 letters in the answer, and letters 3 and 4 are the same. Which road is crossed by the horses during the Grand National? And so number 22 in bingo is represented by a pair of little what? And why does a glowworm glow? So we've got some good, reasonable questions there. So hi, Chris, coming in from Barry. You've got to say hello to Barry, Sammy. Early finish today, so more of your show. Barry's one of our great listeners.
Well, hello, Barry.
He's a top guy. He's a great singer, and he likes the karaoke. And I met him on holiday in Cyprus about 3 years ago, and we've been in touch ever since. And he listens to the show on a regular basis. I think he is having medication for that. So you're wearing glasses now. Have you been wearing glasses all the time? Shows how observant I am.
No,
anyway, message from coming in from Asda. We've got a message coming in from Asda. He says, "Hi, gorgeous Chris." Oh, no, wait a minute. I might got that wrong. Sorry. Hi, Chris and gorgeous Sammy. Sorry about that.
Oh,
it's Andy. What?
Who could this be?
Well, exactly. It's somebody called Andy, and I think he's half Polish and half Italian. Hi, Chris and gorgeous Sammy. It's Andy off an old phone, because I've lost my normal phone Saturday night. Oh, he'd lose his head if it was loose, I think. Andy. We've got Andy Robb, one of the legends of this station. He's listening in Asda, and it's something about Vicks on your feet. Vic and something on your feet cures snoring. Vic on your feet. Have you heard that one?
No.
So we're going to say hello to Barry and Coventry. We're saying hello to Andy Robb. He's a great guy, isn't he? I love Andy. Do you?
I love Andy.
And we all love Andy. How can anybody not love Andy Robb? You need to tell us, Andy, are you doing the breakfast show tomorrow? We missed you this morning. Hopefully Andy Robb will be doing the breakfast show tomorrow morning. Anyway, also Elaine Goy, sorry about the delay in getting to you, Elaine. I've only just spotted it. I am. Well, sorry, you're not. I'm very stricken in age. Hi, Chris and Sammy. How are you both on this bank holiday Monday? The weather over here has been pretty good. Lots of sun in Formby. No rain as yet. So, this Hurricane Katie seems to be affecting the south of England, but not the north quite so much. Yeah. Could you please play Alana Miles? If not, you choose something. We have got some Alana Miles. Thanks, Elaine. And 4 kisses on the bottom. So we've got to say hello to Elaine. Have you met Elaine? She does a show on this station on a Wednesday between 12 and 2. She plays a lot of the Latin stuff.
I love that show. That is a dance in the kitchen show, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I told Elaine, I hope you don't mind, that you'd told me that you liked the show, you see. And then she said, "Who's Sammy?" That was her reaction, because she's never met you, obviously.
Yeah.
But you two will get on like a house on fire, because Elaine used to be a co-presenter of mine on another station. So there we are.
Oh, did she?
Oh, she did. Oh, we stayed together till 2 in the morning. we did. In the Southport Indoor Market. Those were the days. So what's the time? Oh, we're running out of time before the news. And you've got to go soon, which is so sad. So sad, but never mind.
Bye.
Sammy, what on earth can I say? Thank you so much for being my co-presenter this afternoon.
Having me.
And thank you so much for coming. And so what's the plan now? Pick up the sons from Mum at Thel. Are you having to go to Thelwell?
Yeah, drive to Thelwell.
Drive to Thelwell. Oh, well, there we go. And I'd love to back to school tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. So thank you, Sammy, and hopefully we can do this again at some future date. And
from a porter cabin somewhere.
Somewhere or whatever, yeah. So there we go. That's Sammy Giles. So there we are. She's all dressed up. She's got a scarf, she's got a coat on, and she's ready to go. So thank you. There's Sammy Giles.
Bye.
She's going to leave the building. We play, it says here that blondes are not as dumb as you think. You don't want to... No, I'm not doing blonde jokes. No, definitely not. Apparently, only 2% of the world's population has hair which is naturally blonde. And in fact, some people think that natural blondes may die out in about 2220 or something like that, but probably not. I don't think natural blondes will ever quite die out. Only 2%, though, of the world's population has hair that is naturally blonde. It is estimated that about 25% of Britons have fair hair. So I don't know if that means blonde or just fur hair. Anyway, so apparently the UK's blondest city is Manchester. Hello, Manchester. So there we are. And 80% of British women with blonde hair rely on dye, apparently. In ancient Rome, let's go back to ancient Rome, shall we? Just briefly, we're going to come back. Women use pigeon dung. What? To make their hair lighter. In ancient Rome, women used pigeon dung, or poo, yes, which is kind of white with streaks of green, because we get a lot of it on our windscreens, don't we? In ancient Rome, I wouldn't think about putting it on your hair, though. In ancient Rome, women used pigeon dung to make their hair lighter, oh yeah, and probably a lot smellier. And in Venice, during the Renaissance, which was kind of, when was the Renaissance? 16th century, that kind of period, they used horse wee-wee, horse urine. Oh, you wouldn't... Horse urine on your hair to make it lighter, or pigeon poo? No. Well, that's what they had to do before hydrogen peroxide, of course, which was only discovered in 1818. And in fact, it was only hydrogen peroxide was only first used in 1867 as a hair dye, and it quickly displaced all other methods. I would think so. I should cocoa. So there we are. And studies have shown that blonde door-to-door fundraisers receive more donations. So if you're going to go on door to door, knocking on doors, getting money for charity or whatever, yes, bleach your hair blonde and you'll get more donations. If you're a waitress, you've got it. Wear a blonde wig because you're going to get bigger tips. Oh, yes. And if you're a blonde hitchhiker, you've guessed it, you're more likely to be offered a lift. Well, I tell you, hitchhiking, has that died out? I mean, when I was a student at Warwick University in the 70s, I used to hitchhike everywhere. I tell you, I once hitchhiked with a girlfriend all the way from Scarborough, all the way back to Warwick University. I don't know if it helped having her with me. It probably did. I might not have got picked up if I'd been on my own. Actually, when I was a teacher, even when in my 30s, and I always used to pick up hitchhikers. People don't do it so much these days, do they? Apparently, blondes typically have more hair than brunettes or redheads, with an average of 140,000 hairs on their head compared with 108,000 for those of a darker colouring. So blondes have more hair on their head. And Dolly Parton, she says, she's not bothered about people who judge her as a dumb blonde. She says, I'm not offended by all the dumb blonde jokes because I know I'm not dumb, and I also know that I'm not blonde. And, Reese Witherspoon, she's the star of the Legally Blonde films, isn't it? She's a natural blonde, is Reese Witherspoon, and she says she has been stereotyped because she's from the south. She's a southern person and a blonde, so it's not a good combination, apparently. And so there we are. Immediately people meet you, they think I'm not very smart, but of course that's probably far from the truth. I'm sure it is. And so there we are. So you don't want any blonde jokes, do you, before we go to a tune for Barry? Why did the blonde get fired from the banana plantation, right? Because she threw away all the bent ones. And what did the blonde say when she found out she was pregnant? Are you sure it's mine? Are you sure it's mine? And how do you make a blonde laugh on Saturday? Tell her a joke on Wednesday. And, why did the blonde stare at a carton of orange juice for 2 hours? Because it said concentrate on the carton. And why did the blonde get so excited about finishing a jigsaw puzzle after 2 days? Because on the box it said 2 to 4 years. And how did the blonde break her leg raking leaves? Because she fell out the tree. And why did the blonde move house? Because she heard that 90% of accidents happen around the home. Hey, what do you think about the England footy strip? It was awful, wasn't it? I mean, even my grandkids were saying, like blue socks don't go with that red. Oh, no. Gary Lineker said, can't think of a worse England strip. This is a bit of tweeting going on here, of course. And somebody else saying Germany shirt. I mean, the Germany shirt was pretty awful, wasn't it? Germany shirt, somewhere between Plymouth Argyle and Green Bay Packers. England kit, looked like a discarded design for the film Escape to Victory. And Marco Gabbiadini, he used to be a footballer, didn't he? He said, what kind of England kit is that? I don't believe it! No, he didn't say that. We look like a non-league team. Yeah, so the strip was not too good, was it? No. Does anyone over the age of 40 like this England kit, said somebody else? And do Nike give us stuff that we don't like it? So Nike kit coming in for a bit of a stick here. Alex Stewart, of course, the cricketer, or ex-cricketer, Chelsea fan, of course. General feeling is the England kit should be red shirt, yes, white shorts, red socks. Yeah, that sounds better. Or white shirt, navy shorts, white socks. And, of course, the three lions, very prominent. And somebody else coming in with a whimsical suggestion that bullying in schools could almost be wiped out in one fell swoop if the bullies, the perpetrators of the bullying, were threatened with having to wear the New England kit as a kind of punishment. I tell you, whatever. I'm going to do a serious story in a minute, which is close to Barry's heart, so I hope you're still listening. But before that, we've got a couple of good stories, I think. The world's oldest hot cross bun. Where's my glasses gone? Why have I taken my glasses off? That's a funny thing to do. I don't know. I can actually read without them, though, but I'll pour them on anyway. I don't know. I didn't even know I'd not got my glasses on. The world's oldest hot cross bun, right, has been traced back more than 2 centuries to a particular Good Friday. How about this? This is history in action here, and a house in Essex. Now, this is Andrew Munson and his wife Dot, who's 73, by the way. They always put the ages of people, don't they? Dear, oh dear. Chris Strefford, 39, you know, they always put stuff like that in. Elaine Goy, 25. They're always doing that, aren't they? Barry Nicholson, 44. They're always putting ages in like that. Andrew Munson, Andrew Robb, 15. Andrew Munson and his wife Dot, who's 73, apparently were passed the 209-year-old bun by an old neighbour with a note saying it was baked on Good Friday, 1807. Whoa. In an oven in Colchester. How about that? 14 years older. Now, this bun has broken the record. It's 14 years older than the current record, 195-year-old hot cross bun, owned by Nancy Titman from Deeping St James, wherever that is. I think it might be Lincolnshire. Now, Mr. Munson, he's 77, don't forget Dot, 73, said the fruity bun was given to him in a cardboard box by a Wormingford neighbour called Norman Baker about 30 years ago. He said, I didn't really know what it was. Why not? He should have looked in the box. He told me his great-uncle had put it in that box, so I decided to keep it. Now, a historian has traced the bun from its original owner way back 209 years ago. How about this? Amazing. That'll be 1807. What am I talking about? 1807. And the owner was called Edward Holditch, and the handwriting apparently fits the 1807 date as it is written with a quill pen, and the brown paper fits the period as well. So we're going back to March the 27th, 1807, when this was baked. March the 27th, 1807 was a Friday, so that fits in with Good Friday. And so there we are. And anyway, you couldn't eat it, by the way. It's rock hard. You couldn't eat it. Here's an amazing story going back in time to the Tudor times. I mean, what was the Tudor equivalent of WD-40? Well, I can tell you. As many motorists can attest, that's a good word, isn't it? Vehicular breakdowns can prove as potentially dangerous as they are expensive, you see. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I've not used the breakdown service for years and years and years, but I always get it every year because you never know. I mean, even if you buy a brand new BM or something, or a brand new Jag, or I don't know, it could always break down. Couldn't it possibly? Could always break down. You need somebody to bring you back on the back of, you know what I mean. But apparently the Tudors had a remarkably cheap and imaginative solution to potential vehicle breakdowns. But the problem in the Tudor times was seized up cartwheels. And this was a deadly hazard back in Shakespeare time and so on. And the answer was a bag of slimy snails, no less. So, yes, if you're in charge of a cart, and you would probably, most sensible people, you wouldn't be able to have any kind of national breakdown or anything like that, but you could have a bag of slimy snails back in the 16th century, and these snails, they would crush the snails against the wheel as a kind of 16th century form of WD-40, and so there we are. And so therefore you weren't likely, if you had snail slime on your wheels, you weren't likely to have that common problem of seized up cartwheels. And there's also some other stuff here about, imagine if you were a cart driver in Tudor times and you lost control, you nodded off at the wheel. No, sorry, not nodded off at the rein. Nodded off at the rain, that'll be it. And he lost control on a bumpy Tudor road. Don't bear thinking about it. When I went to Nigeria, when I was with a Nigerian lady in 2002, we had, the roads in Nigeria are unbelievable, potholed and so on. And you've probably got similar stories when you've travelled abroad, possibly Africa. Yeah, sure. If you lost control of your horse, due presumably to, the old seized up cartwheel, you probably had forgotten to grease your wheels with snails and suffered the attendant wheel lock. In 16th century, climbing trees could lead to death. There was a guy apparently in Tudor times called John Cool who stepped on a weak branch while trying to destroy a kite's nest, and he fell 20 feet to his doom and possibly demise. Sheep could be dodgy in Tudor times. We're going back now to June 1560. A couple of sisters here, Alice and Catherine Bond, were washing sheep in the River Hodder. Oh, I love to walk. I know a really good walk around the River Hodder, going past Stonyhurst College. Anyway, I digress. So there, can we imagine this? Two sisters, right? Alice and Catherine Bond, June 1560. I don't know what the weather was like. Might have been sunny, might have been dull. Don't know. River Hodder in Lancashire, when a ram leapt up, as rams are wont to do, and knocked Alice into a whirlpool, presumably in the River Hodder. And now, what happened next is a sorry tale. Catherine then, of course, tried to help her. She kind of dived in, and then a passerby called John Swinglehurst kind of dived in, and all three sadly drowned. So there's a sad story from June 1560 and the River Hodder, you see. You wouldn't get that kind of story on many programmes, would you? And probably a good job too. And in 1559, going back a further year, labourer Richard Goodall stumbled in front of a colleague's scythe. Oh dear, not a good idea to stumble in front of a scythe, especially when he's wielding it. And the aforesaid scythe that sliced the back of his leg, and he died 3 hours later, sadly. So there we are. This is all coming from, a record of how people died in Tudor times. And apparently fetching water could be difficult. A lot of people drowned in rivers and ponds, fell into wells. And so there we are. And in fact, there's an example here of a bear baiter who was mauled to death at his work, obviously by a bear. Going to do something really horrific now and serious, which was in the paper recently. Something happened last week. And we like to go to these things because I have got something somewhere in this massive paper about Saudi Arabia. There was a horrific programme last Tuesday on, I can't remember, Channel 4 or 5, about the horrors of Saudi Arabia. Might get round to doing that today, don't know. A shopkeeper stabbed to death on a busy street was the victim of a religiously prejudiced attack. Now, this is unbelievable. It's happened in England last week. Muslim Assad Shah, age 40, was attacked just hours after he'd posted a message on Facebook wishing a very happy Easter to my beloved Christian nation. Typing that word led to his death because of the extreme religious zealots we have in the world today, sadly in this country as well. Witnesses say he was stabbed and then stamped on as he lay defenceless yards from the door of his newsagents in Glasgow's Shorelands district. Passers-by gave Mr. Shah first aid while waiting for an ambulance, but he was declared dead on arrival at Glasgow's Queen Elizabeth University Hospital. News of the incident, of course, spread on social media, and hundreds of tributes were paid to Mr. Shah, who was described as a popular pillar of the local community with the newsagents there, and a silent vigil was held near the scene of this despicable attack. It is understood Mr. Shah fought back and was able to injure his alleged attacker, who was detained in hospital with detectives at his bedside. So there we are. Mr. Shah came to Britain from Pakistan. He posted his Easter greeting on Facebook at 5:10 p.m. I think this was last Thursday, actually, Maundy Thursday. And 4 hours later, he died. And a 32-year-old man has been arrested in connection with his death. Now, you don't need me to comment on how horrific that is. Barry's in, Barry's in, talking about going to Matlock Baths with Marlene, Julie and Jason on Google Friday. So I don't know if they're going or they've been to a bike festival. Yeah, Barry is planning, I think he's still planning to go around India on his bike with his son. I think he is. I think with Jason, is it? I think so. Anyway, so I don't know if that plan's still going. And he says that motorcycles are my thing. Yeah, very definitely. So it was, obviously this bike fest was heaven for him. But he says, at my age, oh dear, aging. It's a terrible thing, isn't it? At my age, to get to ride them, I'd have to have my legs transplanted on my hips. Never. Oh, Barry, come on. Can't you be lifted up or something? Can't somebody kind of lift you up or something like that? I don't know. Could it be hoisted up by something or other? So, are we going to be living on the moon very soon? It says here we could be living on the... Some people with a lot of money could be living on the moon in about 10 years' time. What do you think? Humans could be living on the moon within a decade for a total cost of just $6.5 billion. Well, that is pretty cheap, actually. Explain in a minute. Total cost of $6.5 billion. Humans could be living on the moon within a decade. Of course, that's just a fraction of what it cost to get there originally with the Apollo program. And this is a group of Silicon Valley billionaires, probably multi-billionaires, and NASA scientists who are planning all this. They have pinpointed the most desirable area on the moon, which receives the maximum amount of sunlight. This means that the site beside Peary Crater, that's spelled P-E-A-R-Y, that's where man is going. If we're going to live on the moon, it'll probably be close to the Peary Crater at the lunar North Pole, because that's where they get the most sun. At the it's ideal for generating solar power. Scientists are planning a base holding up to 10 people who would use solar panels to exploit the rich deposits of water and minerals also found around the crater, the Peary Crater, which, anyway, Apollo missions put 12 men on the moon, okay, if you believe that. Most people do, I think. It would be a bit difficult to keep that kind of secret. 12 men walked on the moon. Oh, no, they didn't. Well, I think they probably did, between 69 and 72. The cost of that in today's equivalent money would have been 120 billion. So $6.5 billion is comparatively cheap, possibly. So there we are. And the thing is about this Peary Crater, right? Let's have a look at the details very briefly. This is interesting. I didn't realise that a full lunar day is 708 hours. So a full day on the moon is 708 hours as opposed to 24, you see. And most places on the moon get about half of 708, which is probably 354 hours of darkness on most of the moon. But the darkness at the Peary Crater is a mere 109 hours. So in fact, the Peary Crater spends 85% of its time in sunshine. So I don't know. So are we going to have men living on the moon? It sounds exciting. I mean, all this is going to happen, barring, some ridiculous nuclear war or nuclear disaster. As long as we don't have any major disasters, the human race will eventually colonize, because that's the way that history goes. We've colonized, obviously, is the time, the future. This is what's going to happen. We're going to colonize Mars. We're going to colonize the moon, and who knows? The screens are misbehaving in front of me. I know what's going on here, but hopefully we will restore them in a minute. So there we go. So we get messages in now from Andy. He says, "Hi Barry, this conversation about bikes is continuing. Hi Barry, my bike is a Kawasaki ZZR 600. It's black. It's a pure sex machine, mate. There was I shopping round boring card shops in Matlock and saw all these bikes and bikers, some my age, really, and thought, that's it. If they can have a midlife crisis, so can I. Barry, not sure of how Chris can send us. There's a picture here. I'm not sure I'll be able to sort that out. He's got a picture of his bike here, and he says, please don't tell the wife how much I spent on my credit card, which might have been something like 4,800. She thinks it's only 800. So there we are. The bike conversation is continuing. Barry, feeling some sympathy perhaps for Andy vis-a-vis the cost of the bike and his wife's situation. Yes, he says, bikes, Andy, love 'em or hate 'em. Marl, that's my wife, hates 'em. Oh, I don't know. So they're bonding. We're getting a lot of bonding going on between two guys here. One's listening in Haydock, and one's listening in Coventry. That's the magic of radio. Kind of the magic of radio, isn't it? It is amazing. So there we go. And the childhood home of Beatles drummer Ringo Starr has been bought by a fan who already owns pads once lived in by John Lennon and George Harrison. So this is amazing. Lifelong fab for obsessive Jackie Holmes, as in Sherlock, 48 years of age. She's just bought Ringo's boyhood terrace during an auction at the Cavern Club. It had a guide price of £55,000. It went for £70,000. This happened last Thursday. And of course, Ringo's house was pink. Oh, it had a bit of pink on it. You probably saw it in the paper. I don't know, maybe you didn't. She's already got George Harrison's childhood home. She bought that in 2014 for $156,000, and she got John Lennon's mother's house for $155,000 last year. Now, Ringo's house, this is her latest buy, white and pink 2-bedroom Victorian terrace house at 10 Admiral Grove, Toxteth, and it was Ringo's home from age 3 to 23. Ringo was very poorly when he was young, wasn't he? Almost died. He was bedridden for a long time. He did well to survive childhood, did our Richard Starkey. She's looking, this lady, here's a picture of her in a pink dress with black trimmings and black things on her dress. She's looking for somebody, a Beatles fan preferably, to rent Ringo's old house, because obviously a Beatles fan would presumably love it and appreciate it and look after it. It can't be turned into a museum. Apparently this house she's just bought in Toxteth was a regular haunt for the Beatles in their young days, and also all sorts of other people pop round, apparently Cilla Black and so on. And apparently Ringo crammed 80 people into this 2-bedroom house for his 21st birthday, and he got married from there in 1963. And the Empress pub at the end of his road appeared on the front of his first solo album, which of course was called Sentimental Journey. And this Ringo house is it's part of the official Beatles tour of Liverpool, and the property still attracts fans every day, not necessarily all Japanese. And so there we are. It can't be. There's specific restrictions on the sale. The vendors they put restrictions on the sale, so the house cannot become a tourist attraction or a museum. You get the impression that this lady rather likes the Beatles. So we've got Gary over there in Frodsham and Sheila in Widnes chomping at the bit. They're both on 57 points. Here comes the tie-break question. It's not music, which makes a change. Right, what is the connection between the following words? Now, this is very complex and very wordy. I do apologise. Apostrophe, assassination, bump, gloomy, generous, laughable, suspicious. And also, apart from this is the same answer, what's the connection between these phrases? So what's the connection between these words and these phrases? Here come the phrases: break the ice, catch a cold, eat out of house and home, fair play, heart of gold, hot-blooded, one fell swoop. So what is the connection? It's a literary question. That's almost giving it away. What is the connection between these phrases? First one to get the answer, and to me, okay, we're starting now. You can send your answers in straight now. What's the connection between these words? Apostrophe, assassination, bump, generous, gloomy, laughable, suspicious. And these phrases, break the ice, catch a cold, eat out of house and home, fair play, foregone conclusion, heart of gold, hot-blooded, one fell swoop, and too much of a good thing. What's the connection between all of those? What do you reckon?
I'm taking command. I've got something.
Already we have a winner. Gary's won it. He's just sent it on my phone.
God help me if I'm wrong.
going into my 3rd year on HCR, and Monday the 11th of April.
In a world, one man, one desire. Coming to a radio near you. The Chris Strefford Show. It's what your ears were made for.